Grateful, so also grateful to be a part of Symmetry and all of this and what it has to offer. Today, I wanted to introduce a gentleman here that I'm going to bring on here in just a second and talk to you a little bit about kind of a little bit of different tactic and a little different things that kind of what Symmetry does and some of the positive things and things that, whenever we look at, what we're doing here is obviously changing lives, changing legacies, changing people's financial future. And when we do that, we look at things that we have to offer, and we look at ways we have it, and it's what we call it. I call it back in my sales day as a tool belt. What tools do I have to offer in my tool belt whenever I look at a potential client? We obviously have mortgage protection. And then once we go into mortgage protection, we look at those leads and we look at, all the things that we have to offer from term to whole to all the beautiful things that, we have to, bring to the table to a potential client. Um, you know, so we have to look sometimes into a different view of, yeah, we came in here with leads, but one thing that we don't look at is, sometimes that we kind of like think that we sit in our office in our Zoom room, we get to work from home, but anyone and everyone can be a potential client, and that even goes into warm market, that goes into referrals off of our warm market, and we've been blessed to able to meet a local gentleman here by the name of Greg Spink. I'm going to introduce him and tell him how he's going to tell his little story and everything like that, and we'll get into a couple things. But um, so want to introduce Greg. We met Greg. Um, my wife and I met him in at Starbucks, and I'll tell a little bit more of that backstory here in just a minute. But Greg, can you unmute for just a second? Tell them a little bit about your history and what you were doing and before you got here.
Well, I am a pastor. I was a youth pastor for 27 years in three different states. I've been a senior pastor at a church. Right now, I'm doing a church plant in Carthage, Missouri, right outside Joplin. And it doesn't pay the bills. In fact, it doesn't pay at all. So I had to find something to do to put food on the table for my family. So I've run nonprofits for the last 11 years doing this church plant. And on the side, started with a company based out of California doing life insurance and started making some pretty decent money. And when the nonprofit owner hired her two daughters and told me there was no money left in the budget to pay me, uh, my mentor said, you should really do this full time. Well, I didn't want to do anything in California full time. And then my wife said, you need to talk to Sarah. She's killing it at this thing called Symmetry, which is basically what you were doing. And so reached out to Sarah and Jared. We met at Starbucks, and holy cow, it has been the most exciting ride of my life.
I love it. I love it. And the founders came from a company, and come to find out, Greg, what company did you come from before this?
I was at NAA 7 or 8 years ago until both my bosses ended up in prison. So that didn't work out very well.
No, right. Yeah. Interesting story because I mean, obviously Brandon and Casey didn't have too good of an experience there, and it must have rolled on down to you as well. But it's interesting. But Greg Greg has always been a little bit intrigued with our advanced markets, and he's actually a new SME. He just went to Orlando. But the one thing that you can find with Greg is just how infectious and excited that whenever we had this conversation with Greg is just like blowing up with just, the energy and just like from where he was to what we have to offer. And if you can't see the belief in Greg's his tonality, you're missing out. And and that's what's exciting about him. But when you first came in here, Greg, one of the biggest things that you looked at is our advanced market stuff, and you were really intrigued with that. And with that, what have you done in your first month here?
Well, in my first month, I came in and I thought, okay, the system is we buy these leads, we make these phone calls, we sell mortgage protection. And in my first month, I bought older leads and started making phone calls, set some appointments, and sold about $8,000 worth of mortgage protection life insurance. But at the same time, I'm thinking, man, I know these other people who need these other things, and we offer them, but I don't know if I can offer them. So I reached out to you and Sarah and said, hey, can we do things like IULs, and can we do things like rollovers and those kinds of things? And they were like, well, what, tell me about your experience. So we talked about that, and they gave me the green light to pursue some of my warm market leads. And so in month two, my mother took a turn for the worse. And then she ended up passing 8 weeks later. So I missed 10 weeks of work. I literally sat by my mother's bedside for the last 8 weeks of her life, and then through her funeral, and came back to work with no leads and no more money. And so I thought, man, it's time to get busy. So I started calling my warm market. And in the next 4 weeks, I rolled north of $1.1 million into annuities. And my paycheck this month is, I wrote it down the board over here, going to be about $47,000.
Anybody's jaw just dropped right there. What did you make last year as when you were doing what you were doing before that? What was your salary?
My annual salary was $50,000.
$50,000. And you say what those little annuities right there, just off of basically, I mean, in a sense, three annuities, it can total up to that. But if you look at that, that's a warm market hit. But what is incredible about this is, I sit here and we get text and Greg's sitting here and he sends us, well, here's a $160,000 rollover and a rollover. What's a rollover? I don't know what a rollover is. Tell everybody what a rollover is.
So a rollover is you meet someone. So the $160,000 rollover I just did, I met with a client. He's 63 years old, but his plans for retirement are about 4 days after he dies at lunch. He's going to retire because he doesn't have any money set aside. So he's got this IRA at work that's got $170,000 in it that he's contributing to, and they're matching. So he wants to continue to use that. But we're going to take 160,000 of that, and we're going to roll it out of that variable market into an indexed market where he can never lose money again. So he's at the place where he can't lose money. So when I'm talking to people who are in their 50s and 60s, I'm talking about a lot about 2008 and the marketing crisis. What happened to all those people in 2008 that were getting ready to retire? They had $1 million in their IRA and they thought, man, I'm set. I can retire. This is great. And the market dropped 39.9 points and their account went from 1 million to $600,000 overnight. Do they still retire? Do they still feel comfortable with their retirement? Are they able to stay retired? Or do they add more years of work to build their account back up? So what we offer, the beautiful part of an annuity is we're offering people what's called an index market. That means when the market goes up, you get the upside of the market, but when the market goes down, it locks into place. You're not losing any money. And so if the market takes a 30 point, so if you got $1 million in an annuity and $1 million in an IRA and the market drops 39 points, you've got $600,000 in the IRA and $1 million in the annuity. You don't take any of that hit. If the market goes up 10%, this guy gets $60,000. This guy gets $100,000 because he's $400,000 ahead now. So an index market is this beautiful thing that we offer through insurance that as I talk to people, they say, this is too good to be true. And I'm like, it really is true. And they say, how come I've never heard of it? Well, because you haven't talked to me yet. Now you know.
I love that. I mean, a little bit, that was a lot of stuff that you thrown in there with some numbers and everything, but it was really actually really simple. And you kept it simple and you looked at a target market between the 50s and 60s and you found a pain point and you learned what you could do to take that pain point and be able to roll it into something that we have that's advantageous for what we have to offer. It's beautiful. But let's go back into looking at where your warm market. How you have a son,
Mhm.
you talk to him, but you also went off of that. And how did you go into some referral stuff with as far as that goes with your market?
Well, I'm going to say annuities are a great market tool for people who are in their 50s and 60s. Even younger people like them, but especially the older they are. But young people, one, they don't have a lot of money to move anyway. Some of them are even contributing to an IRA or a 401k. So my son is a traveling welder. He gets a matching credit to his 401k. So he's contributed to his 401k. Every time he gets $100,000, we're going to roll it into an annuity. We're going to park it for the next 40 years until he retires. And then he's going to continue to do that again. But he's got an IUL, which is another great product we offer. It's an index product. So he puts in money after taxes to that. And he is on slate right now to have about $1.2 million in his IUL when he gets to be 65. So he's going to retire with $1 million there. And this annuities on average every 10 or so years are doubling. So he's 23 years old. So his $100,000 we just parked in annuities is going to go to 200 at 33, to 400 at 43, to 800 at 53, to 1.6 at 63. So he's going to have 1.6 million over here, and he's going to have 1.2 million over here. He says, Dad, I'm going to spend a lot of money on fast cars and loose women, but I think I can survive on that. So I think, he's put himself in a place where he can succeed.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. But the crazy thing is that, we were talking earlier, and I'm going to have you share your screen real quick, but you really, you don't, when you get in front of someone or you're talking to someone and, you get me on the phone and you're going to, you're just going to throw in all of this jargon and all this extra mumbo jumbo, go into so much detail, and you're just going to just blow my mind away, right?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to blow your mind away, but I'm going to educate you.
And how quick and fast do you do this?
I would spend probably 20 to 30 minutes in this and answer questions along the way.
Okay.
So,
So what do you have here?
I start by telling people, hey, so my son has a bunch of friends who are his age. They all are welders and they're plantation workers and they're people who are making decent money. So I'm talking to these 23-year-old kids. I'm talking to 50 and 60-year-old people. And I'm telling them, hey, listen, my name is Greg Spink. I work with Symmetry, which is this incredible company. It allows me the opportunity to shop from about 30 A+ rated companies and to bring you the best of the best. And so what I do with Symmetry, my job as an SME is to help people build wealth and protect their families. So Jared, which of these is important to you, building wealth or protecting your family?
Well, kind of both.
But well, here's the beautiful thing. This is what we offer. We offer people the ability to build wealth while they're protecting their families. So Jared, have you ever heard of the rule of 72?
No, I have not, Greg. What's the rule of 72?
This is something that I think everybody should know. The rule of 72 says, Albert Einstein said that if you take the number 72 and you divide your interest rate into 72, that'll tell you how long it will take your money to double. So right now, banks are giving about 0.42% interest on average. But let's pretend they gave a full point, that you're getting 1% interest. And Jared, how old are you?
I'm 46, turning 47 this month.
Well, we're going to call you 46, then we're going to give you a little more grace than you're really going to get with the bank. But at 46, if you were getting 1% interest and you put $10,000 in an account, when you are 117 years old, you'll have
Okay.
$20,000. You think you can live on that?
Not at all.
And
No,
you probably won't be
Greg,
here, right?
are you on your next slide?
Yes.
There you are. Now
I
we can see
usually
that.
explain a little bit and then I take them to the formula that, so I basically the rule, so if you got a 10% return, every 7 years, your money doubles. If you get a 7% return every 10 years, your money doubles. So here's the idea. There's two things that make money grow. In addition to your money, there's the time that you have to grow it, and there's the interest rate that you get. That's the rule of 72. So
Wow.
what you want to do is you want to put your money to work for you so that you don't always have to work for money. Money can work for you. So there's three ways that people save money. And the first is this: they save money in banks. 98% of Americans save money in a bank account. And here's why, because everybody knows what a bank account is. About 20% of Americans save their money, in what's called an IRA or a 401k. Are you familiar with those, Jared?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have one by chance?
Yeah, I think I've got an old 401k.
Okay. I'm not talking to Jared now. I'm talking to everybody else. I've made a note to myself. We're going to talk about a rollover before this meeting's over. But I've got a plan right now for Jared to do. I'm going to educate him right now. So about 20% of Americans use IRAs and 401ks, typically the upper middle class, people who have a little more money. They have an employer who's willing to invest in their future and who says, you're valuable to this company. I'm going to put a little bit of money in if you put a little bit of money in, and I'm going to help you get across the finish line when you retire. 2% of Americans save their money in what's called a LERP. You know what a LERP is?
Uh-uh.
That's an abbreviation. It's a life insurance retirement policy. Uh,
Okay.
the top 2% of Americans save for their retirement in what's called a life insurance retirement policy. Now, here's why. Because the way money grows matters. So remember, the two things that matter are the time that you have and the interest rate that you get. So a bank has what's called has a fixed interest rate. You can see the line, it's straight across, it never goes up, it never goes down, it's fixed, and it's not very high. An IRA or 401k has what's called a variable market. That means if the market goes up, your money goes up. But when the market goes down, your money goes down. And when the market goes up, your money goes up. When the market comes down, your money goes down. And what you hope for is that you get a whole lot more ups than you do downs.
Sure.
In the life insurance retirement policy, we have what's called an indexed market. That means when the market goes up, your money goes up. But when the market goes down, your money locks into place and you never lose a penny. And when the market starts to go up again, your money starts to go up again. When the market drops, your money locks into place. And when the market goes up. So, Jared, based on this information, would you want to save your money fixed, variable, or indexed?
I mean, I feel really more secure in that top one up there, that LARP.
Yeah. Wealthy people use this because they don't like to lose money. Guess what? I
Yes.
don't either. My guess is you don't either.
No.
So the other part of retirement planning is it's not what you save, it's what you get to keep. So right now I'm in Waco, Texas, and you're in Joplin, and we have an uncle that we share. His name is Uncle Sam, and he
Uh-oh.
wants to take a little bit of everything that you make. And so when you're in a bank account, you're in what's called a tax now account. That means if you have that $10,000 we talked about and you put that in your bank account and you're getting that whopping 1% interest at the end of the year, you've made your $1,000 and Uncle Sam's calling your $100 and Uncle Sam's calling, hey, congratulations on your interest. I'm going to take 20% of that. That's the tax bracket you're in. And they're going to take their share of that.
Okay.
What people like about an IRA and a 401k is it's called a tax later account. That means you're going to put your money in and the money that you should have paid in taxes, and you're going to get to grow all of that. So you're going to get even a bigger return. But let me ask you a question, Jared. Do you think taxes between now and in 20 years when you get to retirement, you think your taxes are going to go up or down?
They're definitely not going to go down.
I would agree with that. We're trillions of dollars in debt. We spend money foolishly. And we've got more people coming into Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security than we've ever had before. So my guess is taxes are going to go up. So let's say that taxes stay the same. If what you save for retirement, you got to take 20% away from, then you don't really have what's in your 401k to retire with. The
Hmm.
life insurance retirement policy is what we call tax advantage. That means that you're going to pay your taxes before you put that money in, and you're going to take 100% of that money out of there tax free. Now,
I love that.
based on this information, do you want to save it fixed, variable, or indexed, tax now, tax later, or tax advantage? How would you want to save for retirement?
Those are great questions. I would definitely want to take the tax advantage.
Yeah. And at this point, I'm going to take Jared into an illustration that I've already created with F&G, the pass setter. I'm going to have the illustration ready. It's going to have his name on it. It's going to have his information on it. And I'm going to show him what an illustration looks like and what he could prepare, what he could have for retirement when he gets to retirement based on this contribution. And then at the end of after I show him and he gets excited about the numbers, I'm going to tell him, I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if you can afford $400 a month. I don't know if you can afford $500 a month or whatever the illustration I picked was. What would be a realistic number for you? But what I'm doing is I'm going to sell him on what that end looks like. That when I get to retirement, I'm going to get $75,000 a year tax free, plus my Social Security for the rest of my life. Or I'm going to get $85,000. So I'm meeting with a 23-year-old kid. We do a $400 illustration. He's going to get a $98,000 paycheck for the rest of his life when we get to close. Well, man, he's excited about that. But he's like, I said, can you swing $400 a month? And he said, well, it'd be really tight. And I said, then let's do 200. Let's be safe. And let's do $50,000 a year in retirement. But I like 100. And I said, well, I do too, but you can like in one hand and poop in the other, see which one fills up first. I don't know that you can get there. So
Right.
let's be realistic. Let's do something you can afford. So we argue back and forth. I offer 300. He insists on 400. We settle at 350 and $87,000 a year in retirement income for the rest of his life.
So beautiful.
So, but
And
he's committed to it. He's not leaving.
I love that. I love that. And it's beautiful because you look at, you're looking what's out best for that client. You're not stretching him. You're not stretching. You're not going to put him where, you know what, my first thing is I overextended myself and now what do I need to cut whenever times get a little tough?
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
I know life happens. There's going to be things that happen that get in the way. And so they're going to need months where some of that cushion is going to come in handy.
Absolutely. Um, this is beautiful. And I mean, one thing that I just want to really reiterate with you guys is that, Greg looks at a lot of different avenues as far as that we do have the lead system, but anyone that you walk and come in contact with becomes an opportunity for a conversation. And whether it's your family, and so he knew his son, and so he had talked to his son about, hey, who do I have? Who do you know? Your family and friends can be your best advocate. Um, it's just beautiful. One last little tidbit I want to talk about is what's $1 million, baby?
$1 million baby is one of my favorite things. So anytime one of my neighbors, someone I know has a baby, if you take $100 a month and you put it into an IUL starting in the first year of their life, when they reach 65, they'll have north of $1 million. If they start in the first year, typically they'll have between $1 and $1.2 million, depending on how soon they start,
Say
because of
that
the
again.
one money effect.
Say that again.
So if you start at $100 a month in a baby's first year of life, when they
Okay.
get to be 65 years of age, they'll be worth in their policy $1.2 million. So I
Man,
asked parents, would you like your baby to be a million? Would you like your baby to be a billionaire? Well, all parents, of course they would. Would you be willing to invest in that? Would you put $100 a month in there? And here's how this works. And we show them the illustration with their kid's name on it again. We show them the age age 65. They've got north of $1 million. And here's how and then so you're going to pay in $100 a month for 65 years. Here's what you're going to pay in, and then here's what they're going to take out in income. And typically you're going to pay in, if they're paying in $1,200 a year for 65 years, I don't have my calculator in front of me. I do, but I'm not going to look it up. But let's say they pay in $400,000, $500,000, whatever that number is, and they start taking $120,000 a year in income. For the next 10 years would be $1.2 million. 20 years would be $2.4 million. So their $1 million baby really became this generational thing that changed their family's name for forever. So now this kid has money to take care of their kids and their kids' kids. And those kids have money to take care of their kids and hopefully this kid's passing this on. This is what my parents did for me. If my parents would have started $1 million baby policy, I don't know if I'm on this call or not. Maybe I'm doing something different because I got one, I'm coming up on $1.2 million to retire with.
love it. Love it. Okay. So Greg, unshare your screen real quick here. So I just want to reiterate with you guys that there is options out there and there's things that we can do for young children. And there's all the way up to 50, 60-year-olds that we can do stuff with our advanced markets. Advanced markets is a huge opportunity for each and every one of us on this screen. Um, and Greg has worked out to his warm market, but I also want you guys to know that, we live in a town in Webb City. Greg's in Webb City at 15,000 people. Joplin's around 40, 50,000. I didn't know Greg, but you know what? My wife posted about what she does on her social media and just happens to know that Greg's wife followed Sarah or saw what Sarah did. And look what it led to, an opportunity to bless Greg with what this company has to offer to greener pastures. Greg is going to make over this month $50,000 in rollovers and annuities in just his first month here. And you can see the infectious and the energy that he brings. And he also keeps it simple. We don't have to learn this today. This is just something we can take and we can just take nuggets of information and just grow from it. And if you look at those slides that he didn't go into a whole huge long presentation. We don't have to just, verbal vomit and do this with our clients and just kind of keep it simple. So I know I went a little long today, but I wanted to introduce you to Greg. Greg's been a blessing to this agency and he's going to be a blessing to this company. And we're proud to have him. And, I just want to tell everyone here, thank you for your time. And
Can I say one more thing, Jared?
absolutely.
I'm in a hotel meeting room because my wife's getting ready in our room. And so when I came down yesterday to ask if I could borrow the meeting room, the lady I talked to said, "What do you do?" I told her what I did. She's 23 years old. We have a meeting and we're going to talk about how to retire and be a millionaire. So your warm market's anybody you meet.
I love that so much. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to turn this over. Thank you guys. I'm going to turn this over back to either Joe or Fred, who
Breakout
have
rooms are open.
breakout rooms are open. And you all have a blessed day. Appreciate you guys. Love you.